Welcome back to Ancient Edge, where we excavate the hidden truths buried beneath millennia of dust and legend. Today, we're confronting one of history's most overlooked mysteries, one that stands in the shadow of towering monuments yet holds secrets far more ingenious than stone could ever reveal. When we think of ancient engineering, we conjure images of pyramids piercing Egyptian skies, colossal marble temples, and monumental stone structures that have resisted the ravages of time. But here's what history rarely whispers. These civilizations possessed knowledge we're still struggling to match despite all our modern chemistry and technology. They made wood indestructible. Consider the paradox that should trouble us all. In the dry sands of Egypt, wooden sarcophagi lie perfectly preserved after 4,000 years, their surfaces still intact, their structural integrity remarkable. Viking longships, buried for centuries in coastal soil, emerge from excavation sites with their timber still supple, still carrying within their grain the stories of ocean voyages. Inca structures in the high Andes, exposed to relentless humidity and temperature swings that would challenge any material, stand with beams that refuse to rot, defying everything we think we know about wood's fragility. Meanwhile, modern wooden furniture treated with industrial chemicals often fails within a fraction of that time. A contemporary deck sealed and treated with our most sophisticated preservatives might endure 30 years with meticulous maintenance. An Egyptian wooden coffin sealed in a tomb 3,000 years ago and never touched again still demonstrates structural integrity that would astound any contemporary engineer. This isn't luck, this isn't divine intervention. This is engineering, sophisticated, deliberate, and deeply rooted in an understanding of nature so profound that we're only now rediscovering what ancient builders never forgot. When we speak of Egyptian engineering, we speak of stone. The pyramids dominate our imagination, casting enormous shadows across our understanding of their civilization. Yet step inside a tomb, and you discover something the photographs rarely emphasize: wood. Everywhere, wood. Wooden boats sealed in burial chambers. Wooden furniture arranged with meticulous care. Wooden coffins and doors and frames, all preserved with a perfection that seems to mock modern science. The Egyptians understood something that modern wood scientists are only now quantifying. The decay of wood is not inevitable, it is optional. Decay requires specific conditions to flourish. Remove those conditions, and wood transcends its reputation for fragility and becomes something closer to stone in its durability. Their approach began with choice. They didn't use just any wood. The cedar of Lebanon became legendary, not through accident or cultural sentiment, but through deliberate selection. This wasn't merely a preference. Cedar possesses natural oils within its cellular structure. Oils that act as a preservative, that repel insects with remarkable consistency, that resist fungal colonization, and that somehow seem to improve with age rather than degrade. When an Egyptian craftsman selected cedar for a royal boat or a pharaoh's coffin, he wasn't being sentimental or following tradition blindly. He was making a calculated engineering decision based on material properties he understood through generations of observation and accumulated knowledge. But material selection was only the beginning. The genius of Egyptian preservation lay in a principle that, modern science has confirmed with laboratory precision. Moisture is the enemy. The arid climate of Egypt, the same climate that created deserts and challenged human habitation, became the instrument of immortality. Wooden artifacts were not simply stored in tombs. They were placed in environments where humidity remained remarkably constant and low. The dry sand itself, surrounding buried wood, created conditions antithetical to decay. Fungi cannot thrive without moisture. Insects cannot proliferate in desiccated conditions. The very climate that made Egypt difficult to inhabit made it ideal for preservation. Yet the Egyptians didn't passively rely on their climate alone. Archaeological evidence suggests they employed active preservation techniques as well. Natural resins, including frankincense and myrrh, materials that held religious significance and commanded enormous trade value, served dual purposes. They were sacred offerings in temples, but they were also sophisticated wood treatments. These resins, when applied to timber, created water-resistant barriers. They sealed the wood's surface, preventing moisture penetration while also delivering antimicrobial compounds that suppressed decay organisms. The result was extraordinary. Wooden artifacts emerged from tombs in condition that modern conservators struggle to explain. Thousands of miles away and centuries later, the Inca Empire faced a preservation challenge fundamentally different from Egypt's. Where Egypt offered the gift of aridity, the Andes presented a paradox: high altitude but high humidity, frequent rain, and temperature swings between day and night that could be extreme. The conditions that favored decay seemed overwhelming, yet Inca wooden structures survive with remarkable resilience through engineering sophistication that we're only beginning to appreciate. Inca construction employed joinery of such precision that, honestly, gaps between wooden elements became virtually non-existent. This wasn't merely about aesthetics or structural strength, though both benefited considerably. Tight joinery meant that water couldn't penetrate into the wood's interior. Moisture, instead, remained on the surface, where it could be managed through design choices that promoted rapid drying. Inca architects built structures that breathed, that allowed air to circulate freely, carrying moisture away from vulnerable wooden components. Strategic placement demonstrated equal ingenuity. Where wood bore the greatest stress or faced the most exposure, the Inca selected species with properties specifically suited to those challenges. In high-altitude regions, where certain hardwoods thrived, these dense species with natural resistance to decay and insects were prioritized. The choice wasn't random or traditional. It reflected knowledge earned through centuries of careful observation about which woods perform best in which conditions. The Inca also employed what modern conservators call environmental control, a term that frankly obscures the elegant simplicity of their approach. They kept wood dry through conscious design decisions. Roof overhangs protected walls from rain, channels directed water away from structural elements, buildings were oriented to maximize sun exposure and air circulation. In a world without chemical preservatives, the solution was architectural choreography: arrange wood and space, such that moisture and wood rarely occupied the same location for extended periods. Evidence suggests the Inca used lime washes and mineral applications on wooden surfaces. Lime, derived from limestone and shells, creates an alkaline environment hostile to fungi and many insects. Applied to wood, it formed a protective crust, while remaining permeable enough to allow the wood beneath to breathe and dry properly. The application was practical, sustainable, and demonstrably effective, the product of understanding both chemistry and materials, not through theoretical science, but through accumulated practical experience refined across generations. The story spans civilizations. Japan developed shosugiban, charring wood surfaces to create a protective carbon layer resisting fire, insects, and decay. The Romans, building underwater pilings, discovered that certain woods resisted rot in submerged conditions. Ancient Chinese shipbuilders developed joinery techniques and timber selection that allowed vessels to traverse impossible routes. What unites these approaches is a common principle: work with nature, not against it. Don't fight wood's properties, enhance those favoring preservation while minimizing conditions encouraging decay. Don't rely on single solutions. Layer multiple approaches: material selection, environmental control design, and surface treatment, creating redundancy and resilience. This contrasts sharply with modern preservation, which often combats decay we've inadvertently encouraged through design mistakes. As we face environmental constraints and the unsustainability of current practices, the ancient world offers proof of concept. Ancient preservation techniques were inherently sustainable. They relied on renewable materials, generated no chemical waste, created no toxic byproducts. Yet they achieved preservation rates modern chemistry hasn't consistently matched. Modern wood science increasingly validates ancient practices. Research into phytochemistry reveals that plant-based treatments contain genuine antimicrobial and antifungal compounds. What ancient builders used intuitively, we're understanding systematically. These techniques transcend wood preservation, speaking to a philosophy that viewed materials not as disposable but as commitments to futures we'd never see. We stand at a crossroads. Our world, discards wooden structures unnecessarily, while ancient wood, shaped with bronze and stone tools, still performs its function. What secrets remain locked within wood we haven't excavated? The ancient world had something equally valuable as chemistry labs: time, generations of observation and refinement, civilizations that understood the cost of failure and built assuming permanence. We now have both ancient knowledge and modern science. We can understand why these techniques work while implementing them with contemporary tools. We can rebuild our relationship with durability. If you felt the pull of ancient wisdom, stay subscribed to Ancient Edge. Share this video with anyone who's marveled at ancient artifacts or questioned whether we've truly progressed beyond ancestral wisdom. The past is waiting. History isn't finished teaching us yet.